Hello everyone, and welcome to Lesson 9.1A. I've entitled this video, Geography and Climate of the Tropical North. This video is going to cover pages 274 to 277. Landforms and waterways. South America's tropical north consists of 5 countries and a colony. From west to east they are Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Question number 1 through 7. Take this map and label the seven areas. We've got Brazil, which we already studied last chapter. That's right here. We have, and this is in alphabetical order, Colombia right here. Next up is Ecuador. That's over here. Over here we have French Guiana. Then we have Guyana. And then we have Suriname. And then we have Venezuela. Colombia is the tropical north's largest country, and Venezuela is the second largest. Each is more than twice the size of California. And here we see what Colombia looks like compared to a map of the United States. Excuse me. And here we see what Venezuela looks like compared to a part of the United States. Ecuador, shown here, and Guyana, shown here. The third and fourth largest are about the size of Colorado and Kansas, respectively. Suriname, shown here, is about the size of Washington State. French Guiana, shown here, is a colony of France, and you can see how big it is compared to the country that owns it. The smallest is the size of Maine. Together, these countries of the tropical north total only about 1/3 the size of nearby Brazil. Landforms of the tropical north. Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela have the region's most diverse physical geography. The Andes mountain ranges, pictured here in the bottom here, and then also you can see where it extends throughout South America, which extend the length of western South America, run through each country. Some of the peaks have elevations, or height above the level of the sea, that exceed 18,000 feet, almost 3.5 miles high. Many peaks are covered with snow year-round. About 40 peaks are volcanoes. And now we can answer question number 8. What important mountains can be found in Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela? That is the Andes Mountain. Question 9. What does the word elevation mean in geography? That means the height above the level of the sea. Cotopaxi in Ecuador at 19,347 feet, shown here bottom left, is the world's highest active volcano. In Colombia, the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta Mountains, pictured here bottom right, along the Caribbean coast, are the world's highest coastal range. Question number 10. What makes Cotopaxi an interesting location in Ecuador? What is the world's highest active volcano? Colombia is the only country in South America with coastlines on both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. You can see that here and here. The mountains make travel between the coasts difficult. So does the Darien, a wilderness region of deep ravines, swamps, and dense rain forest along Colombia's border with Panama. West of the Andes, Colombia and Ecuador have narrow lowlands that border their Pacific coast. East of the mountains, more lowlands extend into Peru, Brazil, and Venezuela. The southern half of the lowlands is part of the Amazon basin. The northern half is a grassy plain called the Llanos. This plain also covers most of northern Venezuela. Southern Venezuela contains a heavily forested region of rolling hills, low mountains, and plateaus called the Guyana Highlands. Along the border with Brazil, groups of forest-covered mesas called tepuis rise to heights of 9,000 feet in places. The Guyana Highlands extend east to Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Rainforests cover most of this region except for a narrow band of low and sometimes swampy plains along the Atlantic coast. Question 11. For the South American countries, what makes Colombia's coastline unique? They're the only country in South America that has a coastline on both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. Question number 12. What makes traveling in Colombia very challenging? Well, the mountains. It's very hard to travel because they don't have a lot of roads, and these mountains are very hard to travel through. Question number 13. What is the Darien in Colombia? That is the wilderness region of deep ravines, swamps, and dense rainforest, and it's very hard to get through as well. Abundant waterways. Rivers flow across much of northern South America. The 1,300-mile-long Orinoco River is the continent's third longest river, and that's pictured in the top right. Its more than 400 tributaries form the North's largest river system, and you can see all those tributaries up there. The Orinoco crosses Venezuela in a giant arc, dropping from the Guyana highlands through the Llanos to the Atlantic Ocean. One of its tributaries flow over Angel Falls, the world's highest waterfall, and you can see that pictured bottom right. Angel Falls is more than 20 times higher than Niagara Falls here in North America. From the top of the Tepuy. From the top of the Tepuy, the water plunges more than half a mile to the fall's base. The tropical north region has coastlines on 3 bodies of ocean water. Ecuador and western Colombia lie along the Pacific Ocean. Northern Colombia and Venezuela lie along the Caribbean Sea. The Atlantic Ocean washes the shores of Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Colombia's 2 main rivers, the Magdalena and the Cauca, flow north across Andes plateaus and valleys to the Caribbean Sea. These rivers form important routes into the country's agricultural and industrial interior. Both can be navigated by commercial ships for much of their length. And now we're ready for question number 14. What is important about the Orinoco River in South America? It is the 3rd longest river in South America. Question number 15. Why is Angel Falls, located in Venezuela, famous around the world? It is the world's highest waterfall. Question number... I think that's all for this one. Other rivers that begin in the Andes flow west to the Pacific. Of these, Ecuador's Guayas River is the most important because it has made Guayaquil the country's largest city and a major port. Rivers in Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana flow north and empty into the Atlantic. Most are shallow, slow-moving, and responsible for the region's swampy coastline. They are not useful for long-distance transportation into the interior. The Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos Islands lie in the Pacific, about 600 miles west of Ecuador, and you can see that pictured right here, 600 miles west of Ecuador. They consist of 13 major islands, 6 smaller ones, and many tiny islands called islets. These rocky islands, which were formed by underwater volcanoes, are owned by Ecuador. Most have no human population. The island's isolation makes them home to many unusual animals, such as lizards that swim and birds with wings, although they do not fly. In the 1800s, British scientist Charles Darwin studied the island's animals to develop his theory of evolution. Today, the islands are tourist attractions. Many are protected as national parks. Now we can answer question 16. What are islets? These are small islands, tiny islands. Question 17. What makes the Galapagos Islands a special place in the world? Well, the islands are isolated, so it's home to many unusual animals that you don't see in other places. Question 18. What makes the Galapagos Islands... How did the Galapagos Islands inspire the British scientist Charles Darwin? Well, it's here on the Galapagos Islands that he came to his theory of evolution. Climates. South America's tropical north lies along the equator. Despite its location, the region has a variety of climates. Many of the variations result from the differences in elevation and location and from the influence of ocean currents and winds. tropical climates. The region's coast, interior lowlands, plains, and highlands all have some type of tropical climate. This means warm temperatures throughout the year. Woohoo! Much of the coastal and eastern lowlands of Ecuador and Colombia have a tropical monsoon climate with a short dry season and a long wet season of heavy rainfall. In Colombia's coastal Chaco region, which includes the rugged Darien, it rains more than 300 days per year. This produces more than 400 inches, about 33 feet of rainfall each year, making it one of the wettest places on Earth. The Llanos of Colombia and Venezuela have a tropical wet-dry climate with an annual rainfall of 40 inches to 70 inches. Most rain falls between May and October. Average daily temperatures are above 75 degrees throughout the year. The Guyana highlands have a tropical monsoon climate in some places. In other areas, a tropical rainforest climate, which has no dry season, is normal. Now we can answer question 19. Due to their location along the equator, what temperatures do the countries of South America tropical north experience throughout the entire year? Warm temperatures. Question 20. How is the Darien in Colombia impacted by rainfall? Ooh, boy, does it get a lot of rain. It gets more than 400 inches per year as it rains more than 300 days of a calendar year there in Darien. Lots of rain. Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana have the same climate as Venezuela's highlands. Yearly rainfall ranges from 70 inches to 150 inches. Their coasts are not as hot as might be expected because of the trade winds, steady winds that blow from higher latitudes toward the equator. The Caribbean coast of Venezuela and Colombia is also cooler. It has a semi-arid climate, receiving less than 20 inches of rain per year. Now we can answer question 21. What are the trade winds? The trade winds are the steady winds that blow from higher latitudes toward the equator. So you can see that pictured in a couple of these maps here. Cooler highlands. Mountain climates depend on elevation. From 3,000 to 6,500 feet is the Tierra Templada, or temperate land. This zone has moderate rainfall and temperatures with daily averages between 65 degrees and 75 degrees. Next is the Tierra Fria, or cold land, reaching to about 10,000 feet. A colder zone called the Paramo begins at about 10,000 feet. Daily average temperatures in this zone are below 50 degrees. Wind, fog, and light drizzle are common in this zone. Vegetation is mainly grasses and hardy shrubs. Above 15,000 feet, the ground is permanently covered with snow and ice. Generally speaking, for question 22, what happens to the temperatures in the mountain climates as the elevation increases? The higher up you get, the colder that it gets. Well, thank you so much for watching. Before we go, I have this neat little picture from the Galapagos Islands. This is Jonathan. He has lived through the Civil War, both World Wars, and is now 188 years old. Wow. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.